The Last of Us Part 2 just got a big PS5 update, adding 60 frames per second, improved resolution, better load times, and we also got a ton of news about the future of the series that I want to go over in this video. It's some very interesting stuff. So a lot to go over. A like on the video would of course really help me out. And let's go. Let's start with that PS5 update that is out right now. And if you then boot up the game after installing the patch, you can go to options and then display, where you will see the frame rate target at 60. Or you can put it back to 30 as well. Although I don't know why you would do that, because the difference between 60 and 30 is insane. And while some games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla have you reload the whole game to switch from 30 to 60, in The Last of Us Part 2 you just flip the switch, leave the menu, and the settings are applied. So then the difference is even more noticeable. 30 FPS feels like slow motion right now. This might sound weird, but I don't know how I could have played the game this way at first. Like, aiming your weapon is just more smooth and it just feels great compared to 30 FPS. And I really like the action in The Last of Us Part 2, especially because it's a lot about your ability to react to incoming shots and quickly switching between weapons, while you also try to aim for the head. And now on PS5, that just all works way better. It's night and day, just like playing Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4 versus on PC, so still fingers crossed that that game gets a PS5 patch as well. Digital Foundry put up a big video going in depth on this Last of Us update, and I will link to that video in the video description. Their conclusion basically is that it's a really solid patch, and that the game holds the 60 FPS in almost every situation. We also got enhanced resolution, as Sony notes in their trailer, but don't expect a huge difference compared to the PS4, and the load times are also still really long when loading into the game for the first time, or when selecting a different encounter. To be fair, load times are improved compared to PS4. We got an example from Digital Foundry. It took them 1 minute and 31 seconds to load into this level on PS4 and 43 seconds on PS5. So almost half a minute decrease. And Digital Foundry notes that the load is the same if you would like play The Last of Us Part 2 from an external hard drive or from the internal SSD. Which also highlights that the game doesn't use the power of the PlayStation 5 SSD yet. Because then it would just load in a few seconds, of course, as we come to expect from native PS5 games. Luckily, only the first load in The Last of Us Part 2 is long, like respawning or when just following the story is just as fast as on the PS4. But yeah, that totally makes it seem that this is just a small part of a much bigger update that is likely coming later. And the blog post about this patch also hints at that. That notes that the team has been digging into the PS5 hardware and the possibilities it unlocks since launch last year, and we are excited about what the future holds. This patch is just the first step of working on the PS5. We will let you know when we've got more news to share. So yeah, I would not be surprised if we saw a full-on PS5 version like we saw with The Last of Us Remastered on PS4, and then with those fast load times, maybe ray tracing, and of course DualSense features. But yeah, high chance that Sony will ask money for that and bundle it with that Last of Us 1 remake. You might have heard about or maybe read a report from Jason Schreier at this point, right? He of course has an amazing track record, so it seems very likely that Naughty Dog is working on a Last of Us remake right now. And a link to that article from Bloomberg, by the way, in the video description. And I know this might not sound that exciting as a next project from those amazing developers at Naughty Dog, but Jason appeared on a podcast after publishing the article where he noted that this project actually makes a ton of sense because a lot of other projects at Naughty Dog are in pre-production right now with way smaller teams. So the other developers can now work on this remake, and it's also a great way to get used to the PS5. So in short, this remake should be the first Last of Us, but with the gameplay and enhancements from Part 2. And after picking the controller back up again just now and playing the game in 60 FPS, I got even more excited about that prospect. And here we go to Game Reactor. We see that Eric put up an article about secret upcoming games in 2021. He made a similar article in June of last year, which included many games that indeed were announced a few months later. So he now writes that this Last of Us Remake won't be a simple improvement of resolution, frame rate and textures. The channel is going to really take advantage of the PlayStation 5's power and features with the Last of Us Part 2 engine. Not just in terms of graphics, but a few other things as well. So yeah, likely those DualSense enhancements, 3D audio improvements, etc. that I think we will then also get for the Last of Us Part 2. So would not be surprised if this was one of the big Sony announcements we get this summer, and Sony is part of the big Summer Game Fest stream on June 10th that was just announced. It's like a kickoff of E3. So maybe we see this Last of Us Remake already there. And I also would not be surprised if it already releases in 2021. In a recent Sunday video, I talked about how Sony expects to have an even bigger year for PlayStation first parties compared to the last year, where we had Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, and Demon's Souls. And we only really know about Horizon Forbidden West as like this massive title in this April to March 2022 fiscal year window. I mean, I don't think God of War is going to make that. So yeah, then this Last of Us Remake makes quite a lot of sense in that period, right? As to where the series goes from there, I mean, a Last of Us 3 story outline has already been written. It's not in development right now. And I also would not be surprised if the success of that HBO show will have an impact on the decision to make a Last of Us Part 3 rather sooner than later. Like, if that show is a success like The Witcher was, then it's in Sony's best interest to have a new Last of Us game coming as well. Although we will of course have that multiplayer title, likely a more in-depth version of the Factions multiplayer, and we learned that Sony Bend from Days Gone is helping Naughty Dog with that mode. Jason Schreier also confirmed that this will be a standalone thing, so likely sold separately or maybe even free to play. So really, where I thought we would not see a lot from The Last of Us after Part 2, quite the opposite is actually happening, which I'm also fine with. Although I overall hope that Naughty Dog tries something new this PS5 generation too. Like, without them trying new things after Uncharted, The Last of Us, of course, would have never happened in the first place. So yes, I'm curious about your take in the comments down below. Let me know if you're gonna try this PS5 patch, or maybe I'm already playing in 60 FPS. And totally subscribe for way more PlayStation news, where we know more about that potential big summer event from Sony, which is likely, right? They always do something around E3. I will, of course, let you know here, make predictions. Fingers crossed for Horizon Forbidden West gameplay. I can't wait for that. When we know more about the remake, everything, I will let you know here. And check out that secret game of 2021 video I did a while back by clicking on the screen. For now, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.